Listen to the Wealth Talks podcast and increase your financial wisdom. You will find episodes about investments, the infinite banking concept, how to fight inflation, the financial side of retirement, and financial questions Jesse asked his girlfriend. Listen to the Wealth Talks podcast on any podcast platform or watch it on YouTube. There are new episodes of the Wealth Talks podcast weekly. Search for Wealth Talks podcast online and subscribe for free.
Shooters, hunters, and outdoor enthusiasts, Emax Tactical has you covered. We offer specialty, exotic, and vintage ammunition you won't find anywhere else. Plus, field medical kits and civilian legal training. Emax Tactical is passionate about helping customers find exactly what they need. 90% of orders go out the same day. Visit Emax Tactical online and use code TODD for 10% off your first order. Visit us at emaxtactical.com. EMACStactical.com.
Attention, you're listening to the Todd Huff Radio Show, America's home for conservative, not bitter talk radio. Be advised the content of this program has been documented to prevent and even cure liberalism, and listening may cause you to lean to the right. Here's your conservative, but not bitter host, Todd Huff.
All right, my friends, hour number 2 here of the Todd Huff Show. It is my pleasure to be here. Thank you for joining us. I'm going to continue in a way what we talked about in the previous hour. We talked about how the Democrat Party was in absolute disarray. It doesn't mean that the Democrat Party is destroyed. I've tried to make this clear several times. It just means that they have a losing message. They have a losing message in spite of what they'll tell you. They'll tell you the reason that they're on the wrong side of this is because the voters just don't understand what the Democrats are saying and doing. No, the rank and file across this country do understand. They've watched what has happened. They do not want to be a part of it. The only way to survive this Democrat Party is to change your ways, is to change your policies, is to completely abandon this broken, morally bankrupt worldview that your ideology is rooted in. Democrats, you need to regain control. I'm talking about just the liberal faction of the party, the moderate faction of the party, the part of the party that has a brain and just a modicum of sense. You need to regain control of the party. Take control, take the reins back from the leftists who are driving this thing into the ground. And I do celebrate this. I celebrate victory for the American people when these delusional and wicked and morally bankrupt ideas are abandoned because the American people have firmly rejected them. That is worth celebrating, my friends. And it is a victory for the American people if the Democrat Party is no longer run by radical leftists. I don't know if that's where we'll end up, but that's what has to happen if they want to have any chance, I should say, of regaining any sort of relevance here moving forward in 2024 and beyond. So I want to continue that, but I want to play some sound bites from Tim Walz. Tim Walz, as you know, the governor of Minnesota. Tim Walz, I can say that, by the way. I've got relatives, in-laws in Minnesota. They think I've got the accent, by the way. Give me a break. But anyway, so he's the governor there. He was the vice presidential running mate for one Kamala Harris. I bring him up because there are people that are the spokesperson, they're I guess, vying to be the front runner, the spokesperson for the party. We've talked about AOC. We've talked about Bernie Sanders. They're out there doing their little socialist rallies, what they're calling fighting oligarchy or whatever they're saying. They're saying that they're doing. They're promoting radical socialism and even worse. And there's Tim Walz. Those are the ones right now that are vying for control of the party. And these folks are absolutely delusional and insane. And I've got some sound bites from Tim Walz. I want to talk about this. We again, talked about the Bernie Sanders AOC angle earlier. People who have been in politics Mark Penn, who was back from the Clinton administration, Bill Clinton's administration, says he's never seen anything like this. You've got Democrats who are not woke leftists, people who have been in politics for a long time, who are absolutely and utterly mind blown that this is where the Democrat Party has gotten itself here in 2025. But anyway, we'll talk about those things in more detail as the program comes together, my friends. But let's talk a minute about your sleep. If you are tossing and turning at night, it's time to make a change. My Pillow can be part of that solution, my friends. Their patented pillows are a game changer, but they've also got other products like luxurious towels, cozy slippers, which I think Oz has on. Yeah, she does. Has her slippers on here today. And so much more. So it's not just comfort, it's quality that you can trust. My Pillow products are also made right here in America. It's a company run by an American patriot. So when you buy from My Pillow, you're not just investing in a better night's sleep. You're supporting both American jobs and American principles and values. That's something I think we can all get behind. Go to mypillow.com. Use promo code Todd. You'll get discounts on products there. Do not wait. Your best sleep ever is just a click away. mypillow.com, promo code Todd. Sleep like a patriot, my friend. All right, so let's get here. Tim Walz is out here. I don't even know where Tim Walz is. I'm not sure Tim Walz knows where Tim Walz is, but he's out here speaking to people around the country. And one of the things that is front and center on every radical leftist's mind, whatever's left of it, is Tesla. Tesla. Now, this was last week, I guess, or it wasn't just over the weekend. But Tim Walz is out here basically criticizing Tesla. So what's going on here? We've gone through a lot of this. We've talked about the fires and the domestic terrorism that's basically happening at Tesla dealerships. So here's the thinking, and it's not really thinking, it's just feeling, but here's the argument. So Elon Musk, who owns Tesla, he has come into Trump's government. Trump, as we already know, wink, wink, according to the left, according to the media, Trump's a fascist, Trump's a dictator, Trump's a Nazi. Trump is basically Hitler in the flesh. And so he's evil and wicked, and we have to oppose him with every single bit of our courage and everything within us. This isn't me talking. This is what the left, the media, the 7 pillars of propaganda are trying to push down the throats of the American people, dare I say, to no avail. This is totally, at this particular point in time, discredited by any person who is free-thinking and has the slightest bit of logical thinking capabilities whatsoever. So, since Elon owns Tesla and Trump's a Nazi, Trump brought Elon in, which then, of course, I've always been fascinated by this. Elon, we're told, Trump is basically becoming a puppet of Elon, which is a crazy thing to think about, given about 3 or 4 months ago, they were incessantly telling us he was that dictator. I don't think Hitler was anybody's puppet, right? Hitler was not out there asking permission from anybody. And so now Trump has become a puppet, which of course makes no sense, but then again, nothing else the left tells us does either. And so Elon Musk is the person who's apparently running America. That became the new theme. They put on their silly little ping pong paddles they took to the joint session of Congress speech by Trump here several weeks back. It had something on there about Elon. I can't remember. It was silly and stupid and juvenile, but nonetheless, they're trying to get any sort of traction. And why does this matter? Because the traction that the left gets, any traction they get, comes from some sort of emotion. They want the American people to hate Elon Musk because he's wealthy. They want you, the American people, to hate Elon Musk because he's wealthy and he's taken away the jobs of people who make much less than him every year in the federal government. They want you to hate him. They want you not to question what he's doing based upon the merits. They want you to look at him and say, oh, this guy is a billionaire, therefore he must be someone who is contributing to America's problems. He must be the source of all of the world's problems. In fact, they want you to believe, the left does, that if you have any problems whatsoever, it's because of a billionaire. And if they can, listen, one of the reasons they like billionaires, well, they like them politically because they usually get them on their side to donate and everything else. But in the case where they can't, like with Elon Musk, they love it because he becomes a well-known person. He's a person that they can identify. They can demonize him personally, cause people to hate him, and have a target, and have just this process where they're demonizing and trying to personally destroy this guy, Elon Musk. Now, you don't have to like Musk. I happen to like a lot about Elon Musk. I think there's things that Elon Musk is thinking and doing with transhumanism that are not good. Look, it's not an all or nothing proposition for me, but when it comes to what he's specifically doing for our government and what he's done just by building these companies, it has been good. There would be astronauts stuck on the International Space Station if it wasn't for Elon Musk. I mean, let that sink in. I had that in the stack of stuff last week. I didn't get to it. But Elon Musk said, look, we tried to get these astronauts earlier. The Biden administration wouldn't let us do it. That's a fact. They didn't want Elon to get some sort of positive publicity for bringing astronauts home that the government couldn't get home. Let all of that sink in. They let those folks sit up there for longer because they didn't want the political optics of a Trump ally bringing home astronauts safely to planet Earth. I mean, it is preposterous what has been going on, what has been allowed to happen. And the American people are fed up with it. Why couldn't Elon have gotten them? Who cares who gets the credit? Of course, the left cares because they were painting a picture that Trump and Elon are evil and not interested in anything but lining their own pockets and all this sort of stuff. Can't have them bringing home astronauts. Heavens no, that can't be allowed to happen. But this is the world that we find ourselves in. But I ask you, what's so wrong about Elon Musk? Again, I'm not defending every idea, everything about him, but he's done lots of good things, including most recently bringing home these astronauts. On top of that, he's working to save you taxpayer dollars. He's working to prevent we already have massive debt, but he's working to stop that so that your children, your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren, great-great-grandchildren are not stuck with the bill because we have acted immaturely. We have acted incredibly outside of our means for decades now. He's trying to do good things for this country, but yet he's demonized. And so they hate him. They can't tell you why they hate him. They just will say things like he's a billionaire, he's taking away people's jobs, he's lying to us through Doge, all this sort of stuff. Doesn't matter about specifics. But anyway, he's become the public enemy number one on the left, and he's someone that they can demonize and get people to hate. So this then ties to Tesla because we know Elon owns Tesla. And so since we hate Elon, we have to hate Tesla. Now you combine that with the fact that the left has no moral compass. They have a morally depraved worldview. It's absolutely built on evil thoughts. Evil. It is rooted in no truth. And the left is out there excusing the behavior of people who are setting fires to Teslas or running down the street. I saw this guy running down the street and flipping off a family in a Tesla. It's gotten so bad that Tesla owners are taking the logos off their Teslas and putting other logos on their Teslas. Whatever they can make it look like, a Honda, an Acura, whatever they can come up with. Get me a fake logo so people don't vandalize my Tesla. Elon Musk, I believe he's turning on Sentry mode for all Teslas, which basically is just, as I understand it, surveillance mode so that people can see who's causing damage to their Teslas. We've had fires to charging stations. Charging stations, by the way, a couple of years ago, the left told us was the answer to all of our energy problems. They told us was the answer, the future of traveling across this country. Now they're burning them down. Think about the amount of mental gymnastics one must engage in to come to these conclusions. So they hate Elon because of Trump. They hate Tesla because of Elon. And now that leads us to Tim Walz. Tim Walz is on a stage talking to a bunch of delusional leftists or Democrats who haven't gotten the courage yet to realize that they're really not Democrats. They don't go along with this nonsense. But he's out here celebrating when Tesla's stock decreases in value. Let me play the clip here.
Saying on my phone, I don't know, some of you know this on the iPhone, they've got that little stock app. I added Tesla to it to give me a little boost during the day. 225 and dropping. So
cheering from the crowd.
And if you own one, we're not blaming you. You can take dental floss and pull the Tesla thing off, and take out, just telling you.
Well, people have had to do that because of reasons I previously stated, Mr. Walz. But anyway, he's celebrating the value of Tesla stock going down. Now, he's going to later say that he was joking and that MAGA can't take a joke. Oh, my goodness. Meanwhile, he's out there wanting to put tampons in boys' bathrooms. I mean, that to me, I thought that was the joke. Anyway, so here is Kevin O'Leary, who I've come to really enjoy. Kevin O'Leary is a very wealthy business owner, investor. He is a guy who, just understands economics, understands a lot about what makes things work from a financial, fiscal perspective. And he's got more sense than anybody at CNN. He and, of course, Scott Jennings. But he is on here with Abby Phillips. And he's basically pointing out, look, Tim Walz is up here celebrating that Tesla stock is decreasing. He doesn't even realize that his, I think it's the retirement plan for state employees, it owns Tesla. So he's up here cheering for the decrease in the value of Tesla stock that's actually owned in part, of course, by the state and their funds for people that are retiring or whatever in the state of Minnesota. Here's this exchange.
And his comments about the Tesla stock, he says it gives him a boost to see that stock going down.
That poor guy didn't check his portfolio and his own pension plan for state. It's beyond stupid what he did. He's talking down a 3.5% weighting in his own pension plan. What's the matter with that guy? He doesn't check the well-being of his own constituents in his state. That's their investment fund. Point, what a bozo.
The Minnesota Tesla State Board of Investment, they have 1.6 million shares in Tesla in their retirement fund, 211,000 shares in a non-retirement fund. It's a relatively small amount, but that's one company, one single stock, and that's because Tesla is a huge part of the tech growth. But this is not the first time that companies have been in the crosshairs of protests. Republicans have protested companies all the time.
Oh, but Republicans. He's up here cheering for the value of a stock that's owned by the state's pension plan to go down in value. How is that? What is that? Listen, let's compare this to Bud Light. Bud Light decided for whatever reason, they were going to get Dylan Mulvaney. Is that how I say the name? Yeah, Oz is not paying attention right now. Dylan Mulvaney, transgender activist. Bud Light hires this person to be a spokesperson for Bud Light. And what happens? Well, the average Bud Light drinker says, I don't like this. I don't like where Bud Light's going. This doesn't reflect my values. I don't really want to be seen with a Bud Light in my hand because I'm embarrassed by the things that they're doing today. I don't like this. I don't want to be a part of this. I don't want to contribute to this. I'm not going to buy Bud Light. Now, that's what Republicans did. That's how they exercise. And Bud Light, by the way, is still reeling from this whole thing. I saw recently a headline. Dylan Mulvaney, I think, is still in denial that he has created this problem for Bud Light. Anyway, Bud Light created it for themselves by agreeing to the partnership. But anyway, the point here is that I don't remember, maybe it happened, someone in a similar situation a governor of a state up there applauding the value of Bud Light dropping in value, and the state having it in their pension fund. That doesn't seem, if it happened, I'd be willing to hear it. But I think Republicans would say, look, or the people who boycotted Bud Light, I did not, because I guess I've always boycotted Bud Light. I don't drink. But for those who decided I'm not buying the brand, I'm not associating with the brand, they've taken a direction that I don't want to be a part of, or that's just not what I think is a good thing. For those folks, I imagine at some point, if Bud Light did a 180 and apologized, some people would have gone back. Maybe not. I don't know. But it was more about the behavior. What has Tesla done? What has Tesla done to anybody? I mean, Tesla, if you look at what Tesla has done, if you look at the things, whatever you think about electric vehicles, charging stations, or whatever, if you look at the company, Tesla has done exactly the sort of thing that the left loves. So it's not about the idea, it's about the person. It's about the person. Now, you could say conservatives boycotted Bud Light because of Dylan Mulvaney, but it wasn't because just of the name Dylan Mulvaney, and Dylan Mulvaney voted for Biden or whatever. It wasn't that. It was they don't like that agenda being pushed down the throats of the American people. They don't want their brand associating with it. Versus just Elon Musk. If you look at the company, what Tesla is doing, it's not, there's nothing Tesla's doing. It's something that their owner is doing that isn't showing up anywhere in Tesla. I mean, he's not out there. Tesla's not changed its brand to promote the shrinking of the federal bureaucracy. At least I haven't seen that. Anyway, but this is what they've resorted to. Kevin O'Leary is pointing out, why is this guy so happy that the value of the of stocks in his pension plan are going down, which is technically hurting the people retiring from his state. Now, Tim Walz had gotten word of this. By the way, I'm looking here. These clips are at townhall.com. This is in the stack of stuff on our website if you want to see it. But now Tim Walz is on stage again, trying to reframe this, maybe backpedal as to what really happened here.
What can we possibly do about Elon Musk? Because it's not right.
What's not right?
It is not right. And this guy bugs me in a way that is probably unhealthy. And
I'm just going to pause. I don't have as much time as I thought. I'm going to cue this up and play the whole thing. He's on stage here. He's asked, what do we do about Elon Musk? He says, his amount of dislike for the guy is unhealthy, which gets applause. By the way, that fits in perfectly with something else I talked about on a Todd Talk the other day. Radical leftist ideology. If you're a radical leftist, you're much more likely to be someone who has anxiety and depression, which seems what Tim Walz is embracing some of these terrible things to do, which is have an unnecessarily high amount of hatred for another individual because of his politics. Anyway, I'm up against the clock. I'm going to cue this back up. I should have waited. That's my mistake. I'm going to cue this back up. Tim Walz is on stage at some Q&A. He's out here again trying to be the voice of the Democrat Party. He's talking about why he hates Elon, and he tries to reframe these things we talked about earlier regarding the Tesla stock and how he gets excited about that. Anyway, we'll get to that on the other side of the break. I'm up against the clock. Quick timeout, my friends. Back here in just a minute.
Listen to the Wealth Talks podcast and increase your financial wisdom. You will find episodes about investments, the infinite banking concept, how to fight inflation, the financial side of retirement, and financial questions Jesse asked his girlfriend. Listen to the Wealth Talks podcast on any podcast platform or watch it on YouTube. There are new episodes of the Wealth Talks podcast weekly. Search for Wealth Talks podcast online and subscribe for free.
Tired of store-bought produce? Ever dreamed of growing your own healthy food but worried about space? Exo Hydroponics is a perfect solution. Exo Hydroponics is a family-owned business run by a mother and daughter team. Their innovative Exo Tower lets you grow up to 28 plants indoors or out, using less than 2 square feet. Visit exotowers.com today and start your journey to growing fresh organic food at home. That's exotowers.com.
Take the guesswork out of gourmet. Playhouse Spices gives you a leg-up weapon in the kitchen. Playhouse Spices elevates your cooking with gourmet, handcrafted blends made with clean, healthy ingredients. Explore exciting flavors and become a masterful home chef. Visit PlayhouseSpices.com and use code TODD for 20% off your first order over $50. Playhouse Spices. Seek, explore, taste. That's PlayhouseSpices.com.
Welcome back, my friends. So, as I told you, I want to pick up Tim Walz here on the stage, out there talking, well, with Democrats around the country, fighting to become the voice of the Democrat Party. He, Bernie Sanders, AOC, all these extreme, unhinged, radical leftists are out there vying for control of the party, when in reality, they better find someone who is much more moderate. That's where Gavin Newsom, who, by the way, is also a leftist, but Gavin Newsom is trying to position himself as a Democrat with sense. That's what some of these recent attempts he's made with interviews with Bill Maher. He was on with Charlie Kirk. And I don't fault. Some people were saying, don't be interviewing these people. I don't have a fault. I don't care that they interview or have these conversations. I think it's good to have these conversations. But we also have to acknowledge and point out who these folks are. Gavin Newsom is no better, but there's got to be somebody out there. But see, this is the problem. There's not somebody out there who is moderate, who has name recognition. And so the left is going to continue to peddle these folks out here. It's going to further hurt the Democrat Party's chances of fixing their problems, and it's why they are in disarray. So that is where we're going to pick up. Before we do that, though, my friend, let's face it, every dollar that we spend is a vote for the kind of America we want to live in. We've been talking a little bit about this today. We've been talking about Bud Light, Tesla, which, again, it's interesting with Tesla. Tesla's not itself doing anything. It's just associated with the guy who owns Tesla, who they all hate on the left. Anyway, we launched Freedom Marketplace as a way to give you a place to have a free directory of businesses that align with your conservative values. These businesses made a promise. They're not going to support leftist candidates or leftist causes. And if they break that promise, they're out of Freedom Marketplace. So if you're tired of funding the woke agenda, visit freedommarketplace.net. Again, that's freedommarketplace.net. It's free. It's easy. And it's a good thing to do, my friends, to support businesses that are pushing in the same direction you are. So, by the way, we own this at the Todd Huff Show. It's our database. And if you're a business owner, and you'd like to join, we have a special through the end of this week, through March 28th, 25% off an annual listing. It's very affordable. You can email todd@toddhuffshow.com if that is of interest to you. But if you want to, as a user, you are complete. There's no cost to you to go and shop Freedom Marketplace. There's no login. We're not selling any information. We don't even take information. freedommarketplace.net, liberty and business for all, my friends. All right. So let's get back here. I started last segment. I made a mistake. You know what? When we make a mistake on here, I will own up to it. I made a mistake. I tried to get the soundbite in. It was longer than I realized. I had less time than I realized. So let's get to this soundbite. Tim Walz is on stage. Look like he's chugging a Mountain Dew out of a plastic bottle, answering questions, being the voice for the Democrat Party, even though he's a leftist, and the voters have told us they don't like leftists running the Democrat Party. But nonetheless, he's up here on stage. He's asked by someone in attendance at this silly little rally meeting of the socialist minds or whatever about Elon Musk. What can we do about Elon Musk? Tim Walz is going to tell us how much he hates Musk. He's going to go back and try to reframe his comments about cheering when Tesla stock goes down in value, saying it was just a joke, and the rest of us, we're the problem. I can't, you can't, as conservatives, take a joke. We don't have a sense of humor, which I think is fantastic for him to say. Anyway, all that being said, here he is trying to defend this and reframe it. Here's the question first from the audience. What can we possibly do about Elon?
What can we possibly do about Elon Musk? Because it's not right.
It's not right.
It is not right.
Okay, tell us why.
And this guy bugs me in a way that is probably unhealthy. And
I'm going to start. I started to say this before the break. That this is applauded by the left. This guy, what did he say? This guy bothers me more than it is healthy. I'm too focused on this guy. He gets under my skin, Tim Walz says about Elon Musk. He gets under my skin more than he should. He bothers me more than I should let it. And people cheer for this, which is interesting to me. People cheer. Well, they tell us they're on the side of mental health. I think letting someone get to you too much would not be on the right side of mental health. Anyway, I just find that worth noting. But he continues here.
But
I mean, the crowd loves it.
I have to be careful about being a smartass. I was making a joke. These people have no sense of humor. They are the most literal people. But my point was they're all...
Time out. We're the most literal people. What was the joke? I mean, explain the joke. I was always told if you have to explain the joke, Tim, it's not funny. You are making a joke. What is the joke that you want to see your political adversary suffer financially? Tell us the joke. You want to see people in your state suffer financially because they are invested in a company that's owned by someone with whom you disagree with politically? That is a hilarious joke. You should have your own show. This is funny stuff. Your jokes hit the mark every time. This is great stuff. I like Nate Bargatze's style, but hey, you probably have an audience out there who would love your sense of humor because this is hilarious stuff. You could do a joke, and then you could take 5 minutes to explain the joke, and I'm sure that would be a wonderful, wonderful comedy skit and routine. Saying you, my friends, don't have a sense of humor. I feel like listen, I didn't always have a sense of humor. I developed a sense of humor, I think a strong sense of humor over time. I think sometimes when you go through difficulties and adversity, which I've had my fair share of here in my adult years, I will say that without a sense of humor, without the ability to laugh at yourself. Now, that's the first question. Tim Walz is saying, hey, you're not laughing at me, but maybe we're not laughing at you, Tim, because you're not funny. I think the first test is, can you laugh at yourself? And I will tell you this, a group of people that cannot laugh at themselves under any circumstance is the radical left. Think about the things that should have been a skit on Saturday Night Live that these folks have been acting as though they're serious about. They can't define what a woman is. They want to put tampons in boys' bathrooms in high schools, Tim Walz. They can't define what a recession is. They pretend like it's not what it is when Biden is in office. What are they don't stand by anything here. These folks are saying things that should be treated as jokes. These should have been Saturday Night Live skits. If you went to watched a Kamala speech, a Kamala rally, if you watched Kamala, if you watched her for any length of time try to answer questions, right? All the nodding and the just the way that she would describe things. Did you get hit in the head with a coconut tree or whatever she said? Those are things that I do find funny. I think it's funny when the president of the United States, is on a bicycle, standing stationary and tips over as Biden did. I was told that wasn't funny. I didn't want him to get hurt, but I can't help. If you want to find someone that will laugh at any time somebody falls down, that is Oz. If you fall down, just be prepared to get mocked if Oz is in the vicinity, because she loves that like nothing I've ever seen before. I think it's the left that doesn't have a sense of humor. He continues here.
I'm mad, and I, said something I didn't, probably shouldn't have about
said it.
A company. He is agreed. So I make the case they're all butthurt about the Tesla thing, but they don't care the disrespect they have shown to employees at the Minneapolis VA who care for our veterans, and they fire them. They don't care. So we will have the conversation about efficiency in government and about doing that, but none of us believe for a second they're thinking about this. Oh, we fired everybody that's dealing with Ebola. And then he went into the Oval Office wearing a hat. I don't ever want to hear anybody talk about decorum and respect or that. Wearing a hat, coming in there, richest man in the world. Again, this maybe's just me. If I'm the richest man in the world, I'm like out on the streets handing out the money. It'd be fun as hell just to help people out. Go help people out. Not this guy. Not this guy.
Well, no one's stopping you anyway, Tim. I don't know what your net worth is, Tim, but you could go out to the streets and hand out money if that's what you think millionaires and billionaires should be doing. I mean, these people think, they want you to think that Elon Musk just has a bank account with $1 billion stashed in it. It's so ridiculous, the stuff that we're subjected to. But now Tim Walz is trying to redefine what actually happened. He's trying to turn the tables on, Republicans here and say, look, they're the ones who are hurting people who are working in Minnesota and elsewhere around the country in the federal government, not caring about these folks. Now, this is actually something by reducing the workforce, Tim, that shows that Elon and Doge and Trump and the administration do care about the American taxpayer, the Americans who are paying for the inefficiencies in your government. Quick time out, though, my friends. Got to take a break. Back here in just a minute.
Listen to the Wealth Talks podcast and increase your financial wisdom. You will find episodes about investments, the infinite banking concept, how to fight inflation, the financial side of retirement, and financial questions Jesse asked his girlfriend. Listen to the Wealth Talks podcast on any podcast platform or watch it on YouTube. There are new episodes of the Wealth Talks podcast weekly. Search for Wealth Talks Podcast online and subscribe for free.
Seeking natural solutions for your health and wellness? Look no further than Garden Root Remedy. We offer handcrafted herbal tinctures, salves, teas, and more made with only the highest quality organic herbs. We provide personalized consultations to help you find the perfect herbal remedy for your specific needs. Experience the power of nature's healing touch. Visit Garden Root Remedy online at gardenrootremedy.com. That's gardenrootremedy.com. Rooted in nature, blooming with wellness.
Take the guesswork out of gourmet. Playhouse Spices gives you a leg-up weapon in the kitchen. Playhouse Spices elevates your cooking with gourmet, handcrafted blends made with clean, healthy ingredients. Explore exciting flavors and become a masterful home chef. Visit PlayhouseSpices.com and use code TODD for 20% off your first order over $50. Playhouse Spices. Seek, explore, taste. That's PlayhouseSpices.com.
Welcome back, my friends. Oz wants a microphone. She's just telling me, so she can chime in when I throw her under the bus, as she says. Not gonna happen. Not gonna happen. If she does get a mic, and I've thought about giving her a mic. First of all, she probably would never say anything. Secondly, if she did, I need to have control. I need to have full censorship control here as the benevolent dictator behind the microphone. She's going to have to tell me first what she's going to say, because who knows where that could go. Anyway, so, friends, final segment here of this, the final hour of today's program, and I want to tell you that it's crazy, but we spend more time taking care of our cars than we do taking care of our hearts. Think about that for a minute. We change the oil, we rotate the tires, we keep everything running smoothly in our car. And we should, by the way, don't misunderstand. But when it comes to our health, we sometimes just wing it, or we ignore it, or we don't do any of the preventative maintenance sort of thing. Don't take account for the wear and tear that we all have on our bodies. That's why, my friends, I take Solti. Solti is an all-natural, clinically proven dietary supplement that lowers cholesterol safely. There's no prescriptions. There's no doctor visits. Just 2 soft gels a day. It's not a drug. And friends, it has been demonstrated to work for lots of people. Science has spoken, may be able to help you as well. Your family depends upon you. Your church needs you. Your business needs you. And America, we need you in this fight as well. Don't put this off. Start taking care of yourself today, my friends. Go to Soltea.com, SOLTEA, Soltea.com, promo code Todd. During the checkout process is going to save you 50% off your first order. It's going to get you free shipping. That's Soltea.com, SOLTEA, promo code Todd. Your heart deserves better, my friends, and so do you. All right, so the left is in shambles, right? The left is in shambles here, and I want to kind of go back to the last thing Tim Walz said in that, the speech or whatever, he was answering that question. He said that he basically suggested that we should be mad, the American people, Republicans should be mad that people's jobs are being cut by Elon Musk. Doge is making the recommendations. The cuts are being made by the administration. But that we should be mad about that. Listen, I've said on this program, I personally take no satisfaction in someone losing their job. I do not. However, I live in reality. In fact, I might take up the banner of being the mayor of Realville. That's what Rush Limbaugh said he was, the mayor of Realville. And I think that that's something I should probably take up here because realities come into play here. Realities come into play. And it doesn't matter what we wish to be the case. There are realities. There are realities. And everyone who is working in the federal government is not necessary. I'll say that louder. I'll repeat myself for those in the back. Every position, every job in the federal bureaucracy is not needed. I would go as far to say it is my opinion that most are not needed. Now, that is not a knock on the people working them. That is, this is where people have a hard time. I'm not knocking them. I'm not trying to penalize them. I'm simply saying we, the American people, are paying for these things. If the job is not necessary, unemotionally, the job should not be something that we fund. Now, I want the person who is currently employed to be able to land on his or her feet. And fortunately, we have someone now who is enacting policies and doing things that are going to be good for the long-term economy. So there's going to be more opportunities than ever existed in Bidenomics. But I don't take pride in people losing their jobs. I truly do not. I do not take pride in this. I don't take satisfaction in this. But I do, just as a simple matter of fact, know that every job is not necessary. In fact, most of them are not necessary. And why should the American people be on the hook to pay for a job that isn't necessary? That, by definition, would become a sort of an entitlement. Why is someone entitled to a federal job that is funded by someone else, by the American taxpayer, when that job is not necessary? You'll notice they don't want to talk about the substance. They want to talk about the emotion of it. They want to talk about people losing jobs. They want to talk about anything. They want to talk about Musk. They want to talk about Tesla. They want to talk about Musk having billions of dollars and that he should be out on the street handing out buckets of money, I guess. Which, by the way, is not a good thing to do. I know people, the amount that they've done research and studies, and they found that if everyone had the same amount of money within, and basically people said, go, new economy, everybody has the same amount of money. Within a relatively short period of time, the people who had money previously would have reaccumulated it, and the people who didn't have money previously, now there's always going to be exceptions. Some people have been down on their luck. Some people have had difficulty. I understand that. But in general, the people who had money will be able to reaccumulate it because of the things that they have learned, the behavior, the relationship they have with their money. Those who didn't are probably more likely than not going to repeat the mistakes that led them to not being able to accumulate money. Anyway, that's all the time I have today. I wish I had more time. I gotta go. Thanks for listening, SDG.
Listen to the Wealth Talks podcast and increase your financial wisdom. You will find episodes about investments, the infinite banking concept, how to fight inflation, the financial side of retirement, and financial questions Jesse asked his girlfriend. Listen to the Wealth Talks podcast on any podcast platform or watch it on YouTube. There are new episodes of the Wealth Talks podcast weekly. Search for Wealth Talks podcast online and subscribe for free.
Looking for a knife that's more than just metal? The Rainy Forge handcrafts blades in a real coal forge, the way they were meant to be made. Every knife is meticulously crafted, hair-popping sharp, and built to last a lifetime. From hunting to cooking, we've got a blade for you. Affordable heirloom quality. Visit therainyforgeblacksmith.com and click Buy a Knife to get started. The Rainy Forge, built with tradition, ready for your adventure.